Welcome back to the Riichi Mahjong Guide. In this video, we will be talking about one yaku. This yaku is very common and easy to make, but it has a lot of conditions attached to it, and that's why it gets its own video. The yaku we will be talking about today is Pinfu. In English, it's sometimes called all sequences, but that's technically not correct. A more accurate name would be no mini points, because Pinfu is a hand that requires you not to gain any fu from any part of your hand, and therefore this is one of the hands that is worth below 30 fu. So Pinfu is a yaku that requires you not to gain any fu from any part of your hand. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Why don't we just start with the basic shape of the hand? Alright, so if you remember the episode about basic scoring elements, including how to count fu, you'll know that sequences don't add any fu to the hand, which is why Pinfu has to have a shape like this. So you have a pair, you have three sequences, the 4, 5, 6 of Sozu, 4, 5, 6 of Manzu, 7, 8, 9 of Manzu, and then you have a Yanmen, a two-sided weight, which is worth 0 fu, weighting on either the 1 pin or the 4 pin. And this is a hand that would qualify for Pinfu. And this is why it's kind of common that people call it an all sequence hand. But for instance, if you have something like this, so I just took out one of the 1-so and replaced it with a 1 pin. So now you do have 4 sequences, but you're waiting on a 1-so, a tanki weight, which is worth fu, which would disqualify this hand from earning the yaku Pinfu. Also, something like this. If you had a kanchan, like waiting on a single 2 pin, that would also disqualify this from Pinfu because you would gain 2 fu from the kanchan weight. It's the same thing with a penchan like this. Penchan is worth 2 fu, so it does not qualify for Pinfu. That's why for Pinfu, the weight on which you win has to be a Yanmen or a two-sided weight. So this is the basic shape of a Pinfu hand. There can't be any triplets or cons, of course, and the other way of gaining fu would be a pair of yakuhai, such as haku, hatsu, or chun, or the round, or a pair of the round wind, or your wind. Those are pair of yakuhai that are worth fu, and those would prevent your hand from qualifying for Pinfu. Now, because of the nature of the hand and the definition of the yaku, this hand is either worth 20 or 30 fu. The only way for this hand to be worth 20 fu is if you win by tsumo. That's because you get the base 20 fu from winning a hand, but then you don't get any fu on top of that. Normally, in all other cases, you would get 2 fu for drawing your winning tile or winning by tsumo. But this case is an exception. You do not gain that fu and instead gain the yaku for Pinfu. That's much more valuable, so it's better to gain this 1 han yaku than it is to gain that 2 fu. However, in some rule sets, they don't allow Pinfu tsumo. I have no idea why, and I've never seen anyone play by those rule sets. I just know that they supposedly exist, so just watch out for it, I guess. In those types of rule sets, the only way to win a hand with Pinfu is by Ron, and regardless, if you were to win a hand like this by Don, the hand would be worth 30 fu because you still get the 10 fu for closed Don, but you don't gain any fu on top of that. So for instance, a hand like this, that's just Pinfu. If you win by Don, that would just be 1 han from Pinfu, and you would get 30 fu because it's a closed Don. And of course, if you tsumo, you would gain the yaku for Menzen tsumo and the yaku for Pinfu, and it would be a 2 han 20 fu hand. And this is always the case because Pinfu can only be claimed if your hand is closed. And this is the reason why hands that would be worth no fu when they're open, otherwise known as open Pinfu hands, as we discussed in the basic scoring elements episode, are given that arbitrary 2 fu to make them not Pinfu. It's weird, but that's how the game is. So you just have to remember if you win a Pinfu hand by tsumo, that's tsumo and Pinfu for 2 han and 20 fu. And if you win by Don, that's Pinfu for 1 han and 30 fu. Okay, so what about this hand? Is this hand capable of getting the Pinfu yaku? The answer is no. Even though you have a two-sided weight on either the 1 pin or the 4 pin, because this is a nobetan or a double tanki weight, that it counts as a tanki weight that gives you 2 fu. So a hand like this would not be Pinfu. Conversely to the first example, we just replaced the 2 1-so with 2 4 pin, and this hand does qualify for Pinfu. That's because you can consider this as a pair, with the 2 and 3 as a Dianmen waiting on either the 1 or the 4 pin. And in Mahjong, when scoring the hand, you always have to consider the shape of the hand that gives the highest score. So instead of it being a tanki waiting on the 4 pin, it would have to be Pinfu because that's 1 han. This is a slightly more complex shape. This is actually a 3-sided weight on either the 1 pin, 4 pin, or 7 pin. If you win on the 7 pin, you can view this hand with these 3 sequences, a pair of the 4 pin, and then a Dianmen waiting on either the 4 or 7 pin. So in this case, this winning on the 7 pin would be Pinfu. The same thing with a 4 pin. This has the same kind of shape as the previous example, where you have a pair and a Dianmen, and they're viewed separately like this. However, you are also waiting on the 1 pin, and the 1 pin does not qualify for Pinfu, because if you were to win on the 1 pin, the hand shape would be like this. It would be 4, 5, 6 of Sozu, 4, 5, 6 of Manzu, 4, 5, 6 of Pinzu, and then a Nobetan, waiting on either the 1 or the 4 pin. The winning on the 1 pin does not qualify for Pinfu in this example, but winning on the 4 or 7 pin does. One more example here. In this case, we have a 3-sided weight. We're either waiting on the 7 pin as a tanki, or we can view a pair of these 8 pin as the pair and have a Dianmen on the 6 or 9 pin. So in this case, if we were to win on the 6 or 9 pin, the hand would qualify as Pinfu, of course. But if we win on the 7 pin, that would just be a tanki weight and does not qualify for Pinfu. Okay, one more example here. This is a weight I haven't really showed you before, but this is another 3-sided weight. It can either be viewed as a 2, 3, 4 pin and a 5, 6 Dianmen waiting on the 4 or 7, or as a 4, 5, 6 pin and a 2, 3 pin waiting on the 1 or 4. So in this case, this is just 2 different Dianmen weights, and therefore will qualify for Pinfu regardless of whether you went on the 1, 4, or 7. So this is a very strong weight that will always qualify for Pinfu, so long as the rest of your hand does. So to review, we went over the 1 han yaku Pinfu, which is a closed only yaku that requires your hand to be worth no fu other than the fu for closed ron, if applicable. So by tsumo, it will only be 20 fu, but you gain the yaku for menza and tsumo, so that's 2 han total. Or if you win by don, it gets the 10 fu for closed zone, adds up to 30 fu, and it just has the 1 han from Pinfu. So I know this yaku is a little bit crazy. All the following ones won't have nearly as many conditions. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and thank you so much for watching.